Thank you, Dr. Law, for including me in this session. I have no financial interest to disclose that every case in pediatric case is unique. The goal is basically the IOL implantation in the capsular bag is the best place to implant the IOL, and the visual axis should be visual axis should be clear. So this is the goal, and this is a different kind of posterior capsular axis. There's a some surgeon prefer to do a posterior capsular axis and antivitrectomy followed by IOL implantation. And some surgeons, the few surgeons who do prefer to do capsular axis, IOL implantation, and then antivit. They have their reason for this. I'll discuss in later. And most of the surgeon, I think, in today's era, when the very good vitrectomy is available in each and every OT has access to 23rd gauge vitrectomy, they prefer to do implantation and anti-vitrectomy with the posterior capsulotomy. And per se, this is probably the now it's become a choice for most of the surgeons. So the anterocapsular axis is a posterocapsular axis, not a very difficult task, and if you follow the certain rule, you just nick a posterocapsular capsule and put a viscoelastic underneath the neck and lift this posterocapsule slightly anteriorly and release the tension. Then it is very easy to do posterocapsular axis, and you can control the axis very easily as per your requirement. If you want to do a larger axis or smaller axis, whatever you want. And the next thing is a vitrectomy. Now, if you have a the vitrectomy is very important. If you have a very old generation vitrectomy in your OT, then there is a chance of disbalance of the irrigation and vitrectomy may be there. So some surgeons prefer to give the second option. Then they, as I told earlier, they try to implant the IOL first and followed by vitrectomy, so that there's a little bit of vitreous hydration is there. So it is very important to inflate the bag in the up to the equator with the good viscoelastic, preferably cohesive viscoelastic, to inflate the bag and implant the IOL into the anterior chamber and check the vitreous at the end of this surgery. And it is mandatory to I always prefer to put one suture at the end of the surgery. This is a technique I told this I just discussed, that do the anti-vitrectomy first, as I just fast forwarding, and inflate the equator of the capsular bag, implant the IOL, and IOL implantation followed by the vitrectomy. So there's the only advantage whenever your vitrectomy is not very good, your machine is not very advanced, that it can it can prevent vitreous hydration during your vitrectomy. So this is followed by some of the surgeon in our area. They are routinely do this technique, but probably this is the technique which everyone likes. Remember, this has a two part. One vitrectomy, second is a capsulotomy. So this both the technique, you don't have to have a same parameter. In vitrectomy, you have to increase your vacuum, but in whenever you do the completion of vitrectomy, you can decrease your setting and keep the very minimum vacuum during the capsulotomy. So I prefer to do a small neck followed by vitrectomy, thoroughly, and then enlarge the posterior capsulotomy as per requirement. This is the technique I always follow, and probably most of the surgeon today is prefer this technique. Pars plana vitrectomy I generally avoid in most of the cases, only very few cases. In this particular case, this is a colobomatous eye. I know I cannot approach to the rhexis because the chance of the rhexis runaway is very high, because the little stretching of the rhexis is that the rhexis can lie in the colobomatous area. So in this particular case, I generally do the pars plana vitrectomy. Otherwise, it is I don't prefer to do a pars plana vitrectomy in child after implanting IOL. I always prefer limbal approach. And see, this is quite a fibrous PCO in a child of 4 years, and he has a mature cataract. So I prefer to do the pars plana vitrectomy in these cases. Apart from this, in traumatic cataract is a various presentation, and every case is different. And this is a case where there is a anterior rupture, and as I said, the planning is the put IOL in every cases in the bag, but it is not always possible. After removing the cortex, I saw there is a capsular strand and the fibrosis of the anterior capsule, and however I removed that, I saw there is a large area of zonular dialysis also. So I decided to do as there is a fibrotic posterior capsule, it is relatively easier to do posterior capsular rhexis. Here I prefer to going I am going ahead of doing a rhexis with a larger size, and slightly decentered the rhexis away from the zonular dialysis area. So, and after vitrectomy, I implant the IOL into the sulcus. These are the scenario you can often face, and you have to do according your demand. So every traumatic case is different. And this is another case. This patient is a 7 years old boy, which is operated outside, and has a the PCI was so the PCI into the anterior chamber. So I decided to remove, and here there is a small rent here. And there is a lot of fibrosis in the posterior capsule, and there is a huge zonular dialysis here. So I decided to do the vitrectomy first for a very small nick with the usual vitrectomy parameter, and then I reduce my parameter into the posterior capsulotomy mode, where I keep my vacuum at 50, only 50, and enlarge the posterior capsular rhexis, posterior capsulotomy with a vitrector, and make it as quite a large enough, and implant the IOL into the sulcus and capture the optic. See, there's a huge posterior zonular dialysis here. I implant the IOL into the sulcus. The end, I always check for the vitreous stand. So these are the in traumatic cataract, every case is basically different. And if you most of the surgeon still believe the posterior capsular rhexis in manual posterior capsular rhexis is better than the rhexis done by the vitrector, because they have a absolute control over the rhexis size. But even then, the most of the surgeon today scenario, with the access of the good vitrector machine, vitrectomy machine, and the 30 gauge cutter, they prefer to do posterior capsulotomy after implanting IOL. In that case, most of the cases, IOL implantation is absolutely imperfect. Before you enlarging the posterior capsule, thank you so much.